This portion of your talk show is brought to you by Cedar Crest, where active seniors live the life they want. Your community, your opinions, your forum. This is your talk show on News Radio 1230 WCLO. The opinions expressed by your talk show host do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the station or Bliss Communications. The open line phone number is 752-4000. Please remember that all calls will be live on the air. Now, here's the host of your talk show, Tim Bremel.
Welcome back. It is Election Day. Did you vote yet? I asked you that last hour, so you had an hour. What's going on? Get out there and vote. Do not be disenfranchised. It is still an important thing for you to do. And we're going to focus a little bit more on that this hour because there may be some other ways of looking at this. If you're just looking at it going, I would vote, fill in your party, except I hate the fact that they all think this and I don't, or they all think that and I don't. And you're tired of the party politics and you're tired of the way the ad campaigns run. You may want to do something different, and you can, and that would be to look at something called the Freedom Caucus efforts, or not the Freedom Caucus. God forbid I interchange those two terms. Martin's just shaking his head over here. I'm like, oh man, what did I do? The Problem Solvers Caucus is what I'm trying to say. Exactly. And these are members of Congress that are taking a different approach to that, and we're going to talk about that. So before we get there, vote. Be here tonight at 8:00. We're going to analyze it all, break it all down, give you all the numbers. Brought to you by DeVere Complete Cleaning Solutions, starting at 8:00 tonight. Tom Edwards, myself, and political science assistant professor Jonah Ralston will join us. Joining us right now on the program is a gentleman that actually our paths crossed as we were putting together some of the political activities out at the Rock County 4-H Fair, and I said, hey, we're going to have to follow up because this is a important issue for me. I think it's an important issue for a lot of the folks listening to this program. And you are a ambassador for an organization called No Labels. Which is not a generic grocery shopping sort of experience or something like that. I assume by the title and the fact that the group advocates for the efforts of the Problem Solvers Caucus, that what you're saying is, you know what, let's not go into the voting booth all the time deciding which letter we're going to have monogrammed on our sweater that day. Is it the R? Is it the D? Is it the L? Is it the way?
Exactly.
Let's look at electing leaders. I'm going to say differently from a standpoint of how we've done it over the last couple of decades here, but maybe not differently from the inception of the nation either, as what the founders might have envisioned. I don't necessarily know they envisioned this giant party wrangling that we have going on. So, Martin Finnegan, welcome to the program. Give us kind of a quick primer on what the No Labels organization is all about.
Sure. Tim, I've got to do that. First, I wanted to thank you for your contribution, yours and WCLO's, to the democratic process. It's something I really believe in, and the debate where we met, the interviews you did with all the Republican candidates, really in-depth. This show, the analysis you'll be doing tonight, it's important, and I appreciate it, and I know your listeners do. So I'm Marty Finnegan. I'm just a guy from Twin Lakes, which is in the 1st District down in Kenosha County. I worked 29 years in business. Last 6 years I've been working with nonprofit groups. But a few months ago I volunteered to be ambassador for No Labels. And No Labels is a growing national movement of people like me who believe that you can hold principled political beliefs and still not have to go with this all-or-nothing approach to governance. Mm-hmm. We believe that we want to move from what we're calling the politics of partisan point scoring to actual productive, effective problem solving. So I joined No Labels, and I'll go into that a little more if you'd like.
Sure.
But last year, No Labels inspired the creation of this caucus you mentioned. Because No Labels is an advocacy group. It's got members, and we all join and we listen. But Congress is where things should happen. So they inspired the creation of this caucus, Problem Solvers Caucus, 24 members, 48 Republicans, including Mike Gallagher from Green Bay, and 24 Democrats. And these men and women meet and they try to get to yes on bipartisan solutions to the country's problems. And they were formed last year, and they actually proposed 4 pieces of legislation. Bipartisan compromise solutions to important problems, a bipartisan solution to health care, a bipartisan solution to border security and immigration, a bipartisan solution to infrastructure, and a bipartisan solution to gun safety. And they did polling on these, and they had broad national support among the citizenry. So we got legislation. We think that's good. Didn't make it to the floor. Couldn't make it to the floor. And so the last thing is now they have this break the gridlock. They say, okay, legislation won't do it. Break the gridlock proposal. And that's what we're working on right now. It just says we're going to have to change the rules in the House if we want to change the abysmal performance of the House to make it possible.
Why would, and were he here, and unfortunately he's dropped off the radar for us now that he's announced his retirement from Congress, but why would the Speaker not bring a bill that already has the bipartisan support of 48 members of the House? Why would the Speaker not bring such a bill to the floor?
It's actually terrible what's happened. And, you mentioned the founders. There's a quote I have from George Washington, who was the only president who wasn't a member of the party. And he said, the alternate domination of one faction over another, sharpened by the spirit of revenge, natural to party dissension, is itself a frightful despotism. So this alternate domination, right, the left, the blue wave, the red wave, the left wing, the right wing, it's taken over our politics. And to answer your question, I used to talk with people and say, oh, boy, the political system's broken. We got to fix it. And I thought, yeah, that's terrible. Now I had a wake-up call. You think about it. What is the political system? How we decide who are candidates, how we set political boundaries of districts, how we conduct elections, how the House operates. So there's a whole series of elements, which is the political system. So if you think that the political system was created by the founders or by patriots who wanted the country to prosper and to progress and succeed, you'd say, oh, it is badly broken, we have to fix it. But then you'd have to say, boy, if that's what they designed it for, they must have been pretty stupid, because if you set out to design the worst possible system for the country to succeed, you couldn't do a better job. And that's my wake-up call. It's not a failing system. It's succeeding perfectly at doing what it was designed to do, which is to generate money for what I call the political industrial complex, right? Gridlock is terrible for citizens. It's terrible for the country. But if you're a campaign consultant or a pollster or a pundit or a campaign ad agency or a partisan think tank, it's great. $16 billion a year minimum, not a year per cycle, is what's involved in politics these days. It's a huge industry, and they've kind of hijacked Congress and they've hijacked our elected leaders. And that's what's happened. And I I actually used to contribute to Paul Ryan before he became Speaker, right? I've contributed to Democrats, too. I voted for Republicans. I voted for Democrats. I used to go and hear him. He'd come to Little Twin Lakes Town Hall, 50 of us here, and he'd talk about unsustainable spending. I said, oh, this guy's smart. We do have to get after it. I don't know what happened to him, but I think he got hijacked by the system. I hope.
I don't know. And a lot of people have suggested that, but particularly people that know Paul. Now, whether you found yourself on the ship going that way and there was no way you on your own could steer it, or whether you actually are partisan to somebody on the bridge now, party is another question. I can't answer that. I'm not going to attempt to.
Well, I could give you a specific indication. So, if you'd like, I can go into more about No Labels, the caucus, and the Break the Gridlock proposal. But the Break the Gridlock proposal, if I talk too much about it, people's eyes are going to roll over. It's not sexy soundbite stuff like free health care for all or whatever it is, okay? But it's actually the most important thing we can do. But one of the elements of the proposal has to do with what's called the motion to vacate. So right now, any one individual anonymous member of Congress can move a motion that says, I think we should get rid of the Speaker. And that allows any one guy or woman or the minor extreme faction that they represent to take the Speaker hostage. and to prevent the speaker from serving the whole House or the whole country. It's what happened to John Boehner. Mm-hmm. And when Paul Ryan was asked to be speaker, and he didn't want to, and I believe him when he says that, everybody does, he actually said, all right, but you need to get rid of that motion to vacate thing. It didn't happen. So one of the elements of this proposal is to say, yeah, maybe we need to get rid of the speaker, but if you want to do that, you need a public petition signed by 1/3 of the members of the House. If 1/3 sign on publicly, like this guy or woman is no good, we want them out, fine, then we'll have the vote and we'll see. Mm-hmm. But none of this hostage-taking by factions. So that's just one example of what may have happened to Paul Ryan. But I'm done talking about individuals because I believe with the current flawed system, you couldn't find a candidate, the most enlightened, progressive, or ideologically coherent candidate couldn't make positive change in the country today. It can't happen.
Well, you know, and we talk about that, and we have some microcosmic sort of examples right here in our general area. We talked to Randy Bryce yesterday, for instance. Do the mudslinging campaigns and the opposition research, as we've learned it to be called with Hillary Clinton and President Trump, those kinds of things are driving election turnout because I guess they connect more emotionally with us, and we tend to be emotional beings, and we act on stuff. But the only reason that we find out about them is because there's these giant ad agencies and millions and millions of dollars. I think they said there was over $2 million already spent on the primary, the Republican primary in the Senate race. There's just an incredible amount of money here, most of which is running meaningless. I saw this today, with no offense to my boss, the Janesville Gazette. And I'm like, all right, now I know a little bit about newspaper advertising, so that's a quarter-page ad there, the red one that says vote. I'm not even going to tell you who the candidate is because it doesn't matter. Yeah. Vote August 14th. There's a checkbox. There's one name, and it's authorized and paid for. There's not a single thing about what this guy stands for, who he is, what. There's
and Tim,
nothing.
You're exactly onto it. You're exactly onto it. Because, go back and please don't think I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist when I talk about the political industrial complex. I'm just saying it's a big business. Who are their customers? Who are they trying to serve? Is it independent, centrist voters who come out in the general election and vote based on policies and procedures? No. They're trying to serve either donors or primary voters. Hardly anybody shows out for primaries. Mm-hmm. And those who do are pretty extreme, typically. So, I've done a lot of research on all the candidates. We met at the Democratic debate. Mm-hmm. I went to 2 Republican debates. I listened to all your interviews. I combed through their websites. And, it's clear to me that they've been coached by political professionals. And the political professionals told them 3 things. The first is, this is the primary. Run to the extreme. If you're a Democrat, run to the left of Bernie Sanders and all those guys. If you're a Republican, run to the right of the Freedom Caucus, because that's
how you get through the primary,
and
right?
that's how you get donations.
Because only the most loyal voters turn out in the primary.
Yeah, that's the first thing they told me. The second is, for God's sake, don't make any specific commitments. So when I show up saying, "Will you sign the Break the Gridlock Pledge?" They say, "Oh." And then the third thing they told him is, don't mess with the party leadership. There's money there, and you can't afford to pass it. So, I went through their websites, and it's the same old stuff, Tim. I mean, look at the Democrats. Free college, student loan relief, free health care, expanded Social Security, more funding for public schools, less for private schools. Okay. Republicans, cut government, cut spending, cut taxes, cut regulation, reduce welfare, increase school choice, make Social Security voluntary, make Medicare voluntary. That's what's on the websites. None of those websites say the reality, which is none of those extreme positions can ever become law.
No.
They'll never be the law of the land. And none of those websites and none of the candidates in person will ever say, look, I get it. There's no way to be effective and to implement these priorities in the current system. We have to change the system. You read that question for me, and I had the same one asked at the Republican debates. Will you seek bipartisan solutions? Will you sign the Break the Gridlock Pledge? Will you join the Problem Solvers Caucus? Not much commitment so far. A few vague words from a few of the candidates, but nothing so far.
Well, I personally think that ought to be on every candidate interview going forward, and I may make it a part of it as we go. Marty Finnegan, No Labels is the organization that you're directly affiliated with, but we're really talking about a cosmic mindset shift, I think, that needs to take place. And I'm not sure it needs to take place. I sometimes think it's already there in a lot of voters. It's just we don't know how to deal with it, because when I walked into the polling place today, I was faced with the same old. I was faced with a list, and I could only vote in one column, and I was limited a lot in what I was able to use the power of the vote for, and that becomes frustrating for people, and I think they start to disengage. So we'll pursue this a little bit deeper, but if you've got questions, thoughts, comments, I'm sure Marty would love to hear your input as well at 608-752-4000. Talk or text. We'll be right back on your talk show on WCLO.
Educators Credit Union is now open near you. Founded in southeast Wisconsin in 1937, Educators Credit Union is a member-owned, community-minded financial institution, and it's open to everyone. With member perks and honest advice, plus great rates and thousands of fee-free ATMs, Educators Credit Union puts its members first. Become a member today. Find the branch nearest you at ecu.com. Educators Credit Union, for the teacher in you.
It's time for one of our biggest celebrations of the year. The annual Summer Luau is coming to Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison, and you don't want to miss it. On Sunday, August 26th, 28 winners will share $38,000 in cash prizes with a grand prize of $10,000. And they're back. Aloha Chicago brings the music and dances of Hawaii to Madison. The show is from noon to 2, followed by our performer meet and greet photo opportunity. Always one of the most popular events of the year. Enjoy the beauty of Hawaii at Ho-Chunk Gaming Madison.
Chances are, at least one of your family's stories has been told through one of the oldest businesses in Beloit, Jackson Monument. You see, Jackson Monument creates custom memorials and headstones. They provide on-location cemetery lettering, even cleaning and repair of memorials. A lot of family history can be preserved, upheld, and acknowledged over a 150-year period. Jackson Monument does just that. They're more than a business selling a service in the local area. No. Jackson Monument has spent the last 150 years as part of so many families in and around Beloit and all of southern Wisconsin, doing the work here, not just taking an order and getting the work done elsewhere. 150 years of getting to know you, your family, your family's legacy. Visit Jackson Monument on Milwaukee Road in Beloit or on the web at thejacksonmonument.com. The time comes to tell the story.
The skills you can develop as a soldier in the Army National Guard can give you an edge in the high-tech job market of tomorrow. The Guard offers career training to take advantage of your skills in science, technology, engineering, and math that can help give you a leg up to a high-paying and rewarding STEM profession. Get a head start on your career while earning money to pay for college. Log on to NationalGuard.com to learn about all of the STEM career opportunities in the Army National Guard. Sponsored by the Wisconsin Army National Guard. Aired by the Wisconsin Broadcasters Association and this station.
Our Rock County Clerk of Circuit Court office should function better than it is. Communication with judges, office morale, and e-filing efficiency needs to improve. This is Peter Severson, ready to serve you as Clerk of Circuit Courts. My experience with the Wisconsin Supreme Court, Dane County Clerk of Courts office, and Janesville School Board has led to this moment. Please vote Severson for Clerk of Circuit Courts.
Vote Peter Severson for Rock County Clerk of Circuit Courts on August 14th. Paid for by Severson for Clerk of Court, Kathy Severson, Treasurer.
Space Saver Corporation in Fort Atkinson is growing and currently has 30 manufacturing positions available across 3 different shifts. A sign-on bonus of $1,000 could be yours if you are hired before September 1st. Space Saver is hosting a 2-day manufacturing job fair on Thursday, August 16th from 9 to 6 and Saturday, August 18th from 9 till 2 at their facility in Fort Atkinson. High school diploma or equivalent and general manufacturing experience are required. Or apply online at spacesaver.com.
Grab your luggage. WCLO has got your passport to adventure this fall.
We've been wanting to take a family vacation.
Rock County's award-winning news talk station is teaming up with Van Gelder Tour and Travel to take you to the news and entertainment capital of the country.
You and your family have won an all-expenses trip to
New York City.
New York City!
Experience the Flight 93 Memorial, Ellis Island, Grand Central Station, Times Square, and so much more on this 7-day motor coach tour for two departing on November 8th.
Vacation.
Start your journey at WCLO.com/passport. There you'll find a list of locations ready to issue your passport to adventure. And be listening for special on-the-spot travel stops where you can pick up bonus passports for even more chances to win.
I want to win the vacation.
The more passports you collect, the better your chances of winning. Get set for your unforgettable travel experience.
I think this is going to be the greatest vacation ever.
With Van Gelder Tour and Travel and WCLO, Janesville, Beloit.
Welcome back, Marty Finnegan, our guest. This is good stuff as far as I'm concerned. Now,
Thank you.
I live in a world where I often see two sides. In fact, I'm a person that is much more comfortable in a black and white world, simply meaning there's a right way to do it, there's a wrong way to do it, there's a yes, there's a no, and it's taken me a number of years of my adult life to understand that though you get to that from living most time in the middle and seeing both sides of it to make that determination, not just going blindly forward in one or the other. And that's what we have now, it seems to me, is just a lot of this blind loyalty to ideas that don't work. It's amazing to me when I listen, because I try to stay up on things. I'm bouncing around between Fox and MSNBC and CNN and various other media outlets. And and there's been times, Marty, when I'll punch in and I'll be over at Fox, and there'll be a guy talking on about the liberals and the left just doesn't, and the lead, they don't understand, and every time we do this, their policies, they don't work, and and I'll punch over to CNN and I'll hear a liberal going, that stupid GOP tax plan, and every time we do this, their policies don't work, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If we have policies on the left that never work, and we have policies on the right that never work, then there must either need to be a third policy that nobody's talking about at all, which would seem unusual, or maybe they each have enough flaws that need to be jettisoned, and what's left that's good will make up a good policy.
Yeah.
That would be breaking gridlock.
Well, and you're onto the key of the issue here, which is, those networks you described and some of these pundits, they're part of the system, right? And earlier you said was this the founder's intention? And this political system I'm talking about, it's not in the Constitution, right? The Constitution doesn't say how you draw congressional boundaries. Right. It doesn't talk about primaries. None of that's in the Constitution. It's not even in the laws.
It was a much smaller country and whatever.
Well,
the
here
idea
it is.
Was, hey, we will have chaos if we don't have some organization. Let's let one guy represent a bunch of other people, and they'll go in and register their vote.
But the key is, it wasn't passed officially. It's the political system is a private sector enterprise, and it passes its own rules. It makes its own rules. And those rules aren't designed to solve problems. They're designed to raise money for all these different institutions and individuals, or, at the trough. So, that you can't expect those networks to do something differently. You're really an outlier here. Yeah. And you can't expect candidates to do differently. We were just talking about it. You take two candidates. One says, I'm going to go and make radical proposals. I'm going to get people angry. I'm going to demonize the opposition. I'm going to spend more time at home politicking, raising money than I am in Washington legislating. You take a second legislator who says, well, we got some problems. I better reach across the aisle and find solutions. What does the first one get? Campaign contributions, including black money, and he gets party support. What does the second one get? Attack ads, and he or she gets primaried out. So it's this system, and it needs to change. It can be changed, but it's not Congress or the president. Citizens have to change.
And it's still, and that's why I still have hope, because it ultimately is still going to be up to us and some visionary folks that are looking at different ways to approach electing representatives at the local all the way up to the national level. You just handed me a copy of the Break the Gridlock Pledge, which in its form that I have it here is very simple. And basically, this would be a tool that I could use, and if I'm talking to a candidate, I could say the next time, Paul Ryan were in the studio, if I read that, well, it doesn't matter because he's not running again, but next time Randy Rice is in the studio, if he wins the primary, Randy, would you sign this thing? Whether or not he would is another question, but that's somewhat telling as to how they're going to act in Congress.
Right. And if you ask it and I ask it and citizens ask it, and when they open camp and they call people on the phone, they ask it, and people opening doors ask it, even if he doesn't sign it in the end, he's starting to get the message. We're fed up.
Now, I want you to go into some of the details of Break the Gridlock Pledge, because we've heard of other pledges that elected officials have signed. We heard about the pledge that said, "I'm not going to raise your taxes at all." Exactly. Will you sign that? And a lot of people ran on that. And to me, there's always been a simple reality that there are certain givens. No matter what, I have never seen the cost of living, if you chart it over the course of years here, go down for any length of time. The price of stuff always increases. And so the idea that somehow you would sign a pledge that says for 4 years you're never going to vote to raise a tax is almost insanity to me, because there might be things that end up costing more, and if you're going to fund that as a government entity, you're going to need to do it. Now, maybe it's not a good program, and maybe that needs to be evaluated as well. I'm just saying those kind of absolutes are what bring us here. Well, I don't want to pay any more money as a citizen, and you know what? That guy's going to make sure that I am protected, and emotionally that's a good connection for me. Not understanding that might be taking school lunch right out of your granddaughter's mouth. If that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's much more far-reaching than just these one-sentence.
Well, that's exactly it. So you said, you didn't favor that pledge. Let's just hypothetically say, no, I think it's a good idea. I don't want more taxes. Is that it? All or nothing? So you vote for spend and I vote for cut? Or can't we have that dialogue?
And nothing ever changes.
What's the role of government? How big should it be? How much deficit can we afford? And therefore, how high should taxes be? You heard about people say, I want small government, and above all, tell government to keep their hands off my Medicare. I mean, people need to get into this, right? You have to understand it. But to your point, that pledge you spoke about, it's a single issue pledge. This Break the Gridlock proposal and pledge, it's different because it's not one issue. It's systemic. It's a process change. So, the Break the Gridlock proposal has 16 or 18 specific elements, and I will spare you. I'll go into it. But they break into three big groups.
Okay.
I'll do that. The first thing is it encourages consensus-driven governing. So I'll give you an example. Right now, in this proposal, if a bill is proposed, it has to come to the floor for debate and amendment, unless a 3/5 majority of Congress says, no, we're going to use closed rules, no amendments. 40 years ago, 85% of bills that came to the floor were open for amendment. Only 15% were closed. Do you know what percentage were open in the current Congress? 0. 0.
Worse than I would have imagined.
Here's another. I gave the other example about the Speaker of the House. I mean, that's in this proposal. It takes some people, a good number of congressmen willing to go on record before you can get a speaker out. The second thing it does, it fosters the passage of member initiatives, individual members who are trying to solve their constituents' priorities. So one element, it says, if a member comes up with a bipartisan bill proposed, supported by somebody from the other party, it gets fast-track procedure. Another one says every member gets a guarantee that at least one bill they propose per session will get considered. They call it, will get a markup. Because right now, I tell you, the speaker, and not just Paul Ryan, it was the same with Nancy Pelosi and prior ones, they've hijacked it. So members have almost nothing to do, even if you're in the majority.
I was going to say, particularly if you're in the minority.
The minority
party, but
don't even show up. But even majority guys and committees have been stripped of their responsibilities. It's all coming from the leadership now. So these proposals allow Congress to do their work. The third element, it increases transparency and accountability. An element of that, for instance, it says from now on, you have to give members at least 3 days notice that a bill is going to be considered. Does that sound like a lot to read some of this legislation? 1,000 pages of legislation, to be able to read it, understand it, debate it intelligently. Today, that doesn't even exist. Here it is. By the way, it's closed rules, no amendments. I know you didn't have time to read it. Are you for us or against it? That's no way to run the Congress. And the final example I'll give you is committee chairman. So bills get proposed. They should be routed to Transport Committee or this committee or that committee. Currently, the committee chairman would say, no, we're not going to look at that. And the bill is dead. This proposal says for a committee to waive its jurisdiction, it takes a majority of the members of that committee to vote and say, all right, we're not going to consider that. So it's opening up the process to allow voices to be heard from legislators who signed the pledge, who joined the Break the Gridlock, who signed the Break the Gridlock Pledge, joined the Problem Solvers Caucus, and want to work for their constituents. So this is a place to start. There's a whole lot of other things that would need to be done in the political reform arena, and I could describe them. But this is the first step, because if you can't get a bill to the floor of the House, you can't get anything done, really.
Right. And these are the precepts, and I'm going to make the assumption that I often make here, Marty, when the phone stays quiet and the text line stays quiet, people are all sitting back going, well, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. That makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And it does seem to make perfect sense. But we are not anywhere near what we've just been talking about. To me, I'm always mystified that we as voters allow this to go on. The idea that a very good bill can whether you considered it a good bill or not. Okay, let's just use the Gang of Eight immigration bill.
Exactly.
Okay,
exactly.
It was basically a bipartisan group. I think that was 4-4, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, okay. It was decidedly a bipartisan piece of legislation. What it would have resulted, I'm no expert. I have no idea what 10 years down the road that would have resulted in. But it seemed like a good place to start. And legislation is always fluid. It can always be tweaked and amended or whatever after it's in place or revoked. I mean, we've seen this over history. And people were kind of like, well, why didn't that go anywhere? Why didn't? Yeah. Because there were certain things that were in it that were important to outside factions enough to make the legislators feel at risk if they voted any other way than against it.
Yeah. I think about this all the time, Tim, and that's a good example. Why wouldn't something like that go through? I think there's three reasons. The first is, as I said earlier, the activists are primary voters and campaign contributors. And, I actually think that the campaign contributors are savvy and astute and they're getting what they need. I'm afraid that a lot of the activists haven't had the wake-up call yet, that these guys aren't really working for you and your district. I'm sorry to say that, But there's a whole nother element, which is, and the forces are powerful. $16 billion is a lot of money to try to resist.
Yeah.
But here's the other element. It's, people who, let's call them independents or centrists or thinkers, they're not primary voters, really. They don't have these strong positions. They want solutions. People would say, why didn't that go through? I came across a quote from Harry Truman. It was in a book called The Buck Stops Here. He said, the country has to awaken every now and then to the fact that people are responsible for the government they get. So he was talking about what you have been saying all morning, voting, and preferably informed voting. And I'm going to extrapolate and say it's also about, getting involved. So, maybe things were going okay for a while, and maybe this just caught up with us, and all of a sudden we have to have this wake-up call as citizens to say, this is not working anymore. It's getting really bad. I actually think it's the dysfunction in the political system right now. The Harvard Business Review did a study. They surveyed businessmen, and they said, what are the strengths and weaknesses of the country, and are they improving them? One of the greatest weaknesses, which is deteriorating, is political dysfunction. It's a strategic weakness for the country. It's making us competitively weaker. I think it's going to have national security repercussions. It's terrible. So, people we all need to wake up. And I'll be the first to admit, I just got involved in this 2 months ago. I was doing my job, right? I'm busy. Everybody's busy. But it's gotten so serious that I have to say, people, we need to get engaged now. And it starts with voting. I've got a few statistics on voter turnout. Is that something we should talk about?
Let's do. And as we're talking about this on primary election day, because, again, one of the more telling things and scary things that you suggest here is primary elections generally draw out the base, if you want. And the base, if you want to talk about like the Trump base, they tend to be the more extreme, the louder often, the more extreme leaning type of supporters of a candidate. Doesn't mean they won't support another candidate, but they'll support the more extreme one readily. And so you end up outside of today giving the election to the people that you probably disagree with, and that's why you choose not to vote in the primary because it's just a primary. No, it is a big deal.
It is a real
And if
big deal.
everybody turned out, some of these extreme candidates might not actually make it through the primary.
Exactly.
So it starts today, in all honesty.
It
so
does.
give me some of your other stats, because I think you can draw a lot from this.
So you mentioned today's a midterm, or it's a primaries for the midterm, but we're in the midterm cycle. The last midterm cycle was 2014, 37% turnout. I mean, that's pathetic. And in the general election with the presidential in 2016, it was 60%. That's better, but it's still abysmal. When people talk to me now and complain, it's no secret. A lot of people are dissatisfied with the president and with Congress. A lot of people were dissatisfied with President and Congress in 2014 too, right? So it's not a partisan thing. When they complain to me now, I say, "Did you vote?" And I'm amazed how many people say, either they say, "Nah, I didn't vote," I don't know, or they're kind of embarrassed. They say, "Well, I had to study for a blood test or something." But here's the key. There are 250 million people eligible to vote in this country. In 2016, turnout was 60%. That means over 100 million people did not vote. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump combined got 130 million votes. So almost as many people didn't vote as voted for the two main candidates. And then I dug a little deeper. What I was really surprised for is who didn't vote in 2016. So if you think about these people who are complaining to me about President Trump, what demographic groups might they be a part of? You think they might be people who voted for President Obama in 2012? Okay. 4 million of them, over 4 million of them, stayed home and didn't vote in 2016. You think they may be younger people? Because we're in a radio, so you can't see, but this is not my first rodeo, right? Millennials, 49% turnout. Gen X, 63% turnout. And even at those low levels, the combined votes of those younger people were 2 million more than baby boomers like me or the greatest generation who are the biggest voters. We voted 69, 70%. If younger people voted at our rates of turnout or higher, they would swamp us with their votes. Or how about minorities? Maybe minorities are the least satisfied with the current African-American turnout, 60%, Hispanic, 48%, white, 65%. So, fine. There's a lot of reasons. It could be I'm despondent, I'm discouraged, I'm cynical, you can't beat the system, but it can't continue like this. So we got to rise up, and voting is only the minimum, but it's a start.
Absolutely. So as we go to break, get in the car, go to the polling place. myvote.wi.gov. If you're not sure where your polling place is, it will tell you, and you can also see the ballot right there before you head out. But please vote today, Election Day. We'll be right back with Marty Finnegan on your talk show on WCLO.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Right now, all Bosch and Dremel power tool accessories are on sale. The 10-inch 40-tooth circular saw blade stays sharper longer for an excellent finish. It's only $17.78 after sale price and 11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through August 18th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
You can be a witness to a Guinness World Record right here in Janesville. This is Rock Aqua J's Brian Cullen inviting you to watch us attempt to set a world record pyramid of over 70 skiers. Thanks to our wonderful sponsor, Mercury Marine, we'll have the horsepower to pull this mammoth formation starting at 9 a.m. from North Traxler Park. Some of the best viewing will be along the south end of Riverside Park. Find out more information at our events page on Facebook.
It could just be earwax. Do you or a loved one have a potential hearing loss? Or is it just earwax? Go to the special hearing event at the Janesville Hearing Center and take the first step toward better hearing. Right now, you can get a free video ear inspection and free screening and 50% off select makes and models of hearing aids, but only for a limited time. So see Mark Geezy today.
Janesville Hearing Center, the hearing experts, better hearing guaranteed.
See Mark Geezy at the Janesville Hearing Center on Creston Park Drive.
Culver's all-new spicy crispy chicken sandwich is made with the same premium chicken you know and love. Hand-breaded with a 4-pepper blend of spices. Try one while it's around. They're only available for a limited time. It pairs perfectly with Culver's silky smooth and oh-so-rich chocolate shake. Handcrafted with Culver's fresh frozen custard, real Wisconsin dairy, and rich chocolate syrup. With milk supplied by more than 100 family farms. Stop in today to your local community-minded Rock County Culver's in Janesville, Newville, and Beloit.
The 32nd Annual Rotary Corn Roast and Mud Volleyball Tournament this Saturday at Traxler Park is a family affair with live entertainment, children's games, food vendors, making the grade, honor student recognition, and all the free sweet corn you can eat, straight from the fields courtesy of Seneca Foods. Proceeds from this event support Janesville Noon Rotary sponsored programs. It all starts at 8 a.m. Visit JanesvilleRotary.org for more information.
50/50 Fridays.
This Friday, get a $50 gift certificate to Phibbs Bar and Grill in Rockton, Illinois for $25. Known for their amazing food, prime rib, shrimp, steaks, burgers, Friday night fish fry, and great drink specials, Phibbs Bar and Grill in Rockton has that hometown feel with incredible food. 105 West Main Street, downtown Rockton, or online at mrphibs.com. Get your $50 certificate to Phibbs in Rockton for only $25 at WCLO.com.
Less than 2 weeks after an all-time high, the stock market experienced its largest single-day drop in history. How does that affect you? Does that have you worried and feeling nervous? Tune in to Retirement Income Strategies with Christian Finfrock Sunday morning at 9 to find out what market volatility could mean for your retirement. In volatile times, Retirement Income Strategies can help keep your retirement plan on track. Join us Sunday at 9 a.m. on WCLO.
Tired of fake news?
Every day I listen, I learn.
Turn off the tube and turn back to local radio.
I do feel very well informed.
The Real Thing. WCLO, Janesville, Beloit.
Marty Finnegan and all of us are solving the complete political problems of the entire country here, so I'm glad that you're part of the program this morning. This doesn't seem like this should be this hard. Not having people calling us up going, that guest you got on is nuts. And I've had people call me and tell me that with some of the guests I've had on, Marty, to be honest.
This is a movement, and it's growing. It's a movement for tens of millions of people who, like me, are fed up and are going to say to our candidates and our current representatives and leaders, we're not going to take it anymore. We're not going to take gridlock. We want solutions, and solutions happen at the center with bipartisanship. You know, No Labels started in 2010. There's 1,000 people came together from all 50 states and got this movement started. The founders were Tom Davis, a former Republican congressman from Virginia, and Nancy Jacobson, a consultant and fundraiser who worked for Democrats. Currently, there are 3 co-chairs, Susan Collins, Republican senator from Maine, Joe Manchin, Democratic senator from West Virginia, and Joe Lieberman, former senator from Connecticut, who was a Democrat until he got primaried, and then he ran as an independent because he was so popular. It's a 501c4 nonprofit advocacy group. It's funded by contributions, a lot of small contributions, but there are some big contributions. There are political philanthropists around now, and some, there are guys who are giving a lot of money to the far left, a lot of money to the far right. There are guys who are giving a lot of money to charity and international development. There are now people, men and women, say, we need to fix the political system. I want to contribute. It has hundreds of thousands of people who have clicked on the button, join. It has, and I hope, I would love if listeners do that. All that means is you get, nolabels.org. You get on their newsfeed. They'll ask you for money, but you click no, and then you're done. You don't have to give money. It has nearly 1.3 million Facebook followers. And it's Democrats, it's Republicans, it's independents, conservatives. You don't have to check your political principles at the door. You just have to say, I recognize that somebody who has different philosophy than me can be wanting to act in the interest of the country and may have some ideas that we could work on together to solve the country's problems instead of just persisting with this gridlock.
All right, the radio station is now part of the organization.
Well, there you go. Thank you.
Just signed us up.
Thank you. I'm doing my job as ambassador.
NoLabels.org. It actually, in this browser, it actually pops up as a pop-up window, but it's also part of the front page where you can join. And so, again, you're saying, don't be worried when you say join that all of a sudden you're going to get some massive emails. You'll get a newsletter, an email thing every once in a while.
Yeah, you get some emails, and if you're on Facebook and you join and you like them or whatever it is, I'm a big Facebook guy now that I'm ambassador. Wasn't before. Then you'll get their feed, and the feed is interesting. It has a lot of little section called 5 Facts on immigration. 5 Facts. They try to take a facts-based, nonpartisan approach so people can get informed on the issues. They have some good articles on there. They have quotes from Democrat and Republican politicians, current and past. So it's a good organization, at least to learn about it. I mean, in terms of what people can do, the first thing we just talked about, you need to vote. But beyond that, I would think it would be great if people would get more involved than just voting. And, one is click on No Labels if you want to hear more and learn more. contact your member of Congress or go to these candidates and say, I'm tired of the gridlock. I want solutions. Tell them you want bipartisan solutions. Say, are you going to join the Problem Solvers Caucus? Are you going to sign the Break the Gridlock Pledge? And if you get one who says, yeah, I'll do it, support them. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors. Maybe give them some money if you can spare it. Campaign for them. You can go on, sitting at home, they have phone banks now. You can start making calls for candidates.
If
it's a big deal.
Get your local representatives, and this is now streaming and podcast, so in theory, we're broadcasting nationwide here, Marty, although.
Great.
I will make this pledge right now. You send me a photocopy of the signed Break the Gridlock agreement with a politician's signature on it. I will keep a file here, and we will publicly talk about those politicians. And we will give them credit for signing it, and we will hold their feet to the fire if suddenly, when elected, all of a sudden they seem to change their tune and they're no longer willing to be a part of the Problem Solvers initiative of bringing these things forward and following these tenets in there.
And, I'll send you the launch of that. There's already names on there, and it's not a East Coast or West. Mike Gallagher in Green Bay has signed the pledge. I mean, he wrote the pledge with his colleagues, but they're on board with this. So we're 36. The Freedom Caucus, I think, is 20 or 30. So the Problem Solvers Caucus is actually 48. Now, some members are retiring, some are running for governor and Senate, but we expect to get more. If we can get the number of people who sign this pledge up to 50, 60, then, the way the process works, whichever party wins, in November, around Thanksgiving, they get together for the party caucus, and they decide these House rules. Again, these House rules aren't written in the Constitution. Right. They exist since the time of Jefferson, but every 2 years they're renewed, and they've been getting progressively worse. So the idea is, whichever party wins, the members who've signed the Break the Gridlock Pledge say, we need these rules changes. And hopefully the party caucus says, okay, let's do it. If they don't, come January, they nominate their speaker candidate. And these guys from the majority party say, I'm not voting for that candidate. They don't support the Break the Gridlock Pledge. How do you overcome that when you have a small minority? You need a couple votes from the other side. Well, if we've got, let's say, 24 Republicans and 24 Democrats all saying, I'm not voting for a speaker who doesn't support this Break the Gridlock package of rules changes, there's not going to be a speaker. And that happened before. It happened in 1923, and it was led by a Wisconsin guy, Representative John Nelson. They stood up to their party, which happened to be the Republicans, and they put them through 9 floor votes over 3 days until finally they said, okay, you win. John Nelson, you're on the Rules Committee, and they made the rules changes that they wanted, which were basically the same thing we're looking for now, open it up to debate and so forth. So it was an interesting story. 1923 was the progressives of Wisconsin.
Interesting. Well, this is a good start. If people want more information, nolabels.org.
Yes, sir.
And you can read up on it. And I'm pretty sure you're not going to hear a lot about this on a lot of other major media outlets. I'm betting CNN or Fox is not breaking down your door to come on and talk about this, right?
No, sir.
It's maddening to me.
Well, I will say, let's be fair. Yesterday, I got a call from Matt Kittle up at Wisconsin in Madison on the network that broadcast Rush and Sean and so forth. And his point was, okay, I probably don't agree with a lot of these people on taxation and so forth, but I do agree that we need to have discussion and debate. Things need to get to the floor. So, maybe we'll get some breakthroughs, and maybe even thoughtful commentators from the left and the right will come on board, at least to say we need the debate and we need to get this open and we need to make some progress on things.
Yeah, I mean, the debate has now become almost non-existent.
Exactly.
It is a push of one side or the other. Maybe that's why it's sensitive to me, because I was on the debate team in high school, so I learned the art of that, and there are points given. And rarely does a debate end with one side having all the points and the other side having none. It just doesn't work that way. And so, again, in this idea, there's two groups with two great sets of ideas in their own mind, and when you take the best of both, you're going to wind up with a better product than the other way around. But why we can't get there, I think the other thing which we haven't spent a lot of time on here, Marty, is the money.
Yes.
And I don't know. it's not like the world's highest paying job in Congress, but it's a nice paying job. Let's put it that way.
Well, if you say, I'm going to go to Congress and here's how much I'm going to earn. But if you say, I'm going to join, sorry to keep coming back to this, I'm going to join the political industrial complex. So first I'm going to be a congressman. Then if I lose my election, I'm going to be a consultant on K Street.
Right.
Or I'm going to be a campaign consultant.
And I'm going to write a book. And
I'm going to go to the Heritage Foundation or the left. Oh, you're talking big money. I mean, yeah.
It's actually a stepping stone out to even bigger money after your congressional career in a lot of ways, I suppose.
Yes.
And that's going to be a tough one to wrestle with. Is there anything inside the Break the Gridlock Pledge that addresses money in politics? I mean, that's a hard one to really wrestle with inside this.
You know, the Break the Gridlock Pledge is the necessary but insufficient step to start the ball rolling. Because what we learned with these 4 pieces of legislation that didn't get to the floor, if you don't start here, you can't get anything else. But this is only the start. So if we get this, fine, what does that mean? It means legislation can get to the floor.
Right.
What kind of legislation?
Get another 15 people on either side, you'll start to have momentum to get legislation.
Money in politics.
Right.
You know, there are countries which say governments fund politics. There are countries which say campaigns are 90 days, you know.
Yeah.
So those are ideas you could have debate about setting congressional district lines. There are states in the United States which have them set by independent commissions of retired judges. You could do that. That ends gerrymandering. Ranked choice voting used by Maine, a great way to get independents, thoughtful independents, who can get their voices heard, and people can actually vote for them without being worried that it's a wasted vote or a spoiler, right? Or if I vote for this person, then I'm going to get the bad one in. Open primaries. You talked about primaries.
Yep.
You know, in California right now, it's the 2 highest vote getters who win. So centrist candidates rise to the top. Sometimes they're from the same party. But, you know, we've got to try these things. But if you can't even get a bill to the floor, you're dead. So that's why the first step is Break the Gridlock Pledge. And from there, now we've got their attention. We've got some people in Congress who are ready to work together, Problem Solvers Coalition, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Conservatives, Liberals, and we can hope to start to see some political reform, political system changes. And then we got to get after the problems we have. Healthcare, Social Security, deficits, taxation, border security, immigration. The list is long and it's been going on for decades.
It certainly is. Well, hopefully this is the right step. It seems to me that this is a good first step. You can find out about it at nolabels.org, or Tom says if you also just Google Problem Solvers Caucus, there's a lot of stuff that comes up there as well. Marty, it's been a great pleasure to explore this with you a little bit. I hope people get on board. I hope people go to nolabels.org and click sign up. I hope you see your numbers jump exponentially. And again, share the podcast, gang, if you think there's merit here. I do. Hopefully we see a change here in the coming election cycles.
Tim, thanks for allowing me to do my job as ambassador. And this is a public service. It's a big deal what you're doing, you and WCLO. I thank you for it.
Pleasure to have you here, sir. We'll be back with more. Wade Williams is in Focusing on the Facts of Primary Elections after the break on WCLO, Janesville, Beloit.
You deserve exceptional customer service from the Clerk of Court's office. Sue Enlow for Rock County Clerk of Circuit Courts.
This is Sue Enlow. I've invested 24 years working in the office and learned from 4 different leaders. I'm not a politician, just a public servant that will work hard, answer your calls, and expand the office hours. Roll up your sleeves with me. Vote Sue Enlow for Clerk of Circuit Court.
That's Sue Enlow. Paid for by Susan Enlow for Clerk of Circuit Court. Susan Enlow, Treasurer.
When you're confronted with an illness or injury, Mercy Health at Home's home health care team is here to help you maintain your independence and quality of life. We bring experienced and compassionate healthcare services to you wherever you call home. We offer skilled nursing care, physical, occupational, and speech therapy, in-home monitoring, and more. To learn more, call 608-754-2201. Mercy Health at Home, a passion for making lives better.
When you cool your home with an Infinity system from Carrier,
You can rest easy knowing that you're providing the right choice in comfort and energy efficiency for your family. With a parts limited warranty of up to 10 years and SEER ratings of up to 21, Carrier Systems offer reliable solutions to your family's home cooling needs. For greater comfort and peace of mind, turn to the experts at Carrier.
Call Footville Heating and Cooling, serving homeowners in Rock, Greene, and Dane counties.
You're hungry and you can't decide what you want. Well, whatever you're craving, Luke's Deli can satisfy. From a hearty sandwich to an artisan salad or a tasty dessert, Luke's has it all. Try one of their seasonal specials or go to their hand-shredded roast turkey or Italian beef. Stop in. Find out why so many folks love Luke's Deli. Think local, eat local. Luke's Deli at the corner of Mount Zion and Milton Avenue in Janesville.
How does advertising on WCLO help your business succeed? Here's Barb from Carroll Electric with her story.
It was unexpectedly easy. We track where our new customers and our new jobs come from, how they heard about us. Within the first 30 days, we had 2 very large jobs come through due to a specific ad that we placed. Our name is out there, and when they listen to you and take your words and create advertising that's specific and specialized, you can't go anywhere but up. And it's fun for me to meet up with family and friends who say, "Oh, I heard an ad for your company on the radio."
To get results for your business with WCLO, email sales@WCLO.com. Because